hopefully you can all see that. Okay, so I brought you to the oneHR website first because this is the easiest way to log in as an employee. So what we do suggest is when you do first log in, or when your company signs up to oneHR, to bookmark this page. So the URL is www.onehrsoftware.com. Now, if you go to this web page, it's as simple as in the top right hand corner, you'll be able to see the dark blue button that says login. You click on that, and then from the pop-up box, just type in your email address. Um, when you type it in and then press continue, it will automatically take you to any oneHR accounts that your email is associated with. So the vast majority of you will just be the single account, and it'll take you straight to the company's login page. Brilliant. So now that you have gone through the oneHR website, logged in or navigated to the login page for oneHR, inputted your username, which tends to be your first name dot second name, the password of your choice, and then you will receive an authentication code, whether that's via email or via text message, to then log into the system. Once you've done all of that, this is what you'll see on the system. So the first thing you'll see is the oneHR dashboard. Now, this will just contain a variety of relevant and important information that you need to know straight away. So as you can see here, there'll be a breakdown of any employee within the business who's away. So you can see if your colleagues are working today or if they are sort of off. Um, any outstanding tasks or required signatures that have been set up for you to do or to sign by your manager will also appear here. Um, there'll also be a breakdown of any celebrations, so that sort of work anniversaries or birthdays that you may need to know. And then if your company also has OneSafe, which is our health and safety software, there will be a breakdown of all the key health and safety contacts. So that's competent person, first aiders, mental health first aiders, and fire marshals. So you know who to contact if you know in whichever case sort of they're needed. And then there's also a breakdown of health and safety insights. So that is sort of breakdown of any accidents or near misses, um, sort of that come from the incident log. The purpose of today is to focus primarily on oneHR, so I won't really be speaking about OneSafe, um, but that could potentially be a future session if we get enough sort of interest in using OneSafe from an employee's point of view. So to sort of quickly run through the dashboard. Essentially, as I said, it has a breakdown of all this key information. It also has shortcuts to the relevant places you need to go to deal with this information. So for outstanding tasks, there's a view task button here, which you can press, and it's a shortcut straight to, as you can see here on the left-hand side, straight to the tasks section of oneHR. Equally with required signatures. So on oneHR, whenever a document is uploaded by a manager, they can request that an employee or multiple employees sign this document electronically. So that could be an individual document for yourself as an employee, such as a contract or a performance review form, something like that. Or it could be more company-wide documents, such as company handbook or any sort of HR and health and safety policies that are within the business. So any required signatures that have come straight to you as an employee, you'll be able to see here. And obviously there's the option to preview that document. So if you click that, it'll preview it. I think this particular document is just a blank Word page. Yep. So be able to run through and look through that document. What is it? And then if you did want to sign it, it's a case of you can click the sign button and then you can draw your signature using the cursor, or if you're on the phone or a device, you can use your finger or an Apple Pen or something like that. You can download or insert an image of your signature. If you have a photo of it or something like that saved on your device, or you can type your signature using the keyboard. Um, and obviously, these will all be legal representation of your signature. Check the box, say you understand, hit sign, and then that task is complete. Amazing. One thing I will draw your attention to before we begin running through the sort of the different areas. Um, There is a number of different ways that you can get support, so technical support for oneHR. Down here in the bottom right-hand corner, you can see a small chat box icon. You click on this icon, this will bring you to our support network for the system. So if you have any questions about how to do something's maybe not quite working as you thought or how it should, and we have any questions or queries whatsoever about the system and how it works, you can send us a direct message. Now, this will go straight through to our customer success team. So you'll be speaking with a real person. You won't have to sort of speak to an AI chat box, or you won't be sent to an FAQs page. You'll be speaking and have a direct line of contact with an expert on the system. As you can see here, the typical reply time is under 10 minutes, so the team tend to get back to you really quickly. Equally, you can use our library of support guides that are available on the system. So here we have a search for help bar. You can click on that, and straight away that'll bring you to all of our support guides. They are organized in different categories and folders depending on what it is you're trying to do. For you guys who are employees, there is a specific folder called Employee Guides. You can click on that. As you can see, there's 4 articles in here about how to do certain aspects of or how to use certain aspects of the system. So, for example, how do you book leave as an employee? If you want to click on that one, there's then a step-by-step guide of how to do it on the system essentially as an employee. So I just come back away from that. Equally, in the help bar, if you start typing what it is you're trying to do, so if I was just to type in holiday, it'll filter the guides to the most relevant. So for you guys, it'll be here, booking leave as an employee. The other guides tend to be for admins or managers, things like that. So if you do, as I mentioned before, have any issues or need any assistance and support on the system, please do make use of our support network here in the bottom right-hand corner. It's just that little chat box icon, as I mentioned before. Brilliant. What I'll do next is I'll just jump into an employee profile. So the employee profile has a number of different areas in it that are sort of relevant to you guys as an employee, obviously. There are some areas that only managers and admins can see or have sort of the ability to edit, but they're not particularly relevant to yourselves. So we'll just run through the essential areas that an employee can have access to and what is sort of useful for them to know. So when you jump into an employee profile, first thing you'll see is an overview of any leave and absence relating to that particular employee in the current leave period. So straight away, you can see how many days leave remaining this employee has. So for an employee, if you have booked a number of holidays, you're looking to book some more, but you're not quite sure how many days left you have to sort of book off in that calendar year, come straight to your profile, and the first thing you'll see here is how many days leave you have left to book off. So obviously this particular employee has 21 days, which they can then use and request up until they run out. Other key information that you can see in this overview is the date of the next leave that you have booked. So that could be a holiday that's booked in, it could be one that's requested, it could also be a different type of leave, whether that's sort of an appointment or anything like that. That date and that information around that holiday will be there, so you'll know exactly without having to look at the calendar when the next time you're scheduled to be off is. And then we have the Bradford factor. So this is sort of slightly different on a company basis, a company by company basis. So some companies use it, some don't. If your company does use it, then whenever you are absent and an absence record is input into oneHR by the manager, it will add to your Bradford factor score. Now we keep it here in the employee profile so they're aware of what their current score is. So if there are any sort of meetings or issues raised further down the line, it's not sort of out of the blue. The employee is well aware of what their Bradford factor score is. So you can find that information here as well, or in the overview. And then further down the overview is just again a breakdown of all the leave and absence relating to this particular employee. So you'll see here what your allowance is, how many's been deducted, what's remaining. And again, you can look through and see a bit more of a breakdown on that key information and what leave's been taken, things like that. You'll also see a breakdown of the leave that you have booked So this one here is approved, this one's pending. You can see all that key information. If the manager has declined your leave, that will also appear here. And if they've inputted a reason for declining that leave, it will also appear here. So you'll be able to see that information. Again, you'll be able to see a breakdown of absences as well. So any times that you're off sick and that they're inputted onto the system, you'll be able to see that. And things like that. You'll also be able to sort of see any evidence, sort of sick notes or anything like that that have been uploaded alongside this absence record. And then we also have record. So again, it varies on a company by company basis, but things like appointments or lateness or anything like that. Types of leave that are more specific and shorter times, so 5 minutes, 10 minutes, things like that, half an hour, they tend to be stored here. So any appointments that you may have booked off, and then the duration. So if that was half an hour, for example, it would be 0.5 hours. Again, you'll be able to see a breakdown of that information relating to your leave. The next couple of sections are areas for key and personal information for the employee. So the vast majority of information in these areas, the employee can fill in themselves when they finally when they first get access and they're activated on the system. So if I jumped into information, this is where an employee can run through and fill in that information. So, you know, things like title, gender, marital status, you can input your date of birth, an emergency contact number. So this tends to be if you have a work phone, which will be on the system, what's your personal phone or what's a backup phone number to make contact with you as the employee. There is a separate area for emergency contacts, which tends to be things like next of kin. But this emergency contact number, what's an alternative number that the employee can get you on? You'll then also be able to see, not edit, but see some other key information regarding yourself and your employment. So what department are you in? Who is your direct line manager? That'll be shown here. What's your job role and also your start date and things like that. So again, this information can all be edited by an employee. Make sure if you do update any of this information and fill it in, you then click the update button for that information to be saved. Next area again, contact details. Again, employees can fill this in themselves. You can input your address, you can input the phone number. So again, if you have a work phone, that tends to be the one that you pop in here, and also an email. Again, we always advise maybe putting your work email in here, as you'll be getting emails from the system, which you may not want to come to your personal email, but again, it can be a personal email if you would rather. And then, as I mentioned before, there is an area for emergency contacts. So that is the contact details of your next of kin. So anybody that your manager or people in your place of work need to contact in case of an emergency on your behalf. And again, you just click add new, fill in that information. Obviously, a name and a phone number are key information, which is required. The address and relationship can also be added. Then click save, and that information will be stored here and accessible. And you can add as many emergency contact details, so different people as you see fit. The rest of the employee profile are areas that the employee can't necessarily edit or make changes to, but there's information that you can see, keep up to date with. So if you have a health and safety role within the business, one of these areas will be ticked. You'll also be able to see your working pattern. So what hours do you work week by week? So obviously you can look and see that you work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, with an hour break. And then there'll also be a sort of a calendar type view of your working pattern. So obviously you can come through and check and make sure that's right. Obviously you can have different working patterns that sort of occur during different times. So my current working pattern is the one that is selected. My previous working pattern is this one, where I didn't work the Tuesday, and I work slightly less hours on the Wednesday. But now obviously I work full-time 9 to 5. So you can keep a record and keep track and be able to see all of that previous working pattern information. There is also a salary area on oneHR. Again, it's just an area. Oh, it's just an area where you can see your salary information if it's been inputted onto the system. Now, this is protected, so only your manager and the HR department potentially will be able to see this information. Your profile is protected from other employees, so all of that personal information is stored, protected, kept safe. Now, there are a few additional areas on oneHR which are related to documents and document storage. So employees will have an area called My Documents, where any documents relating to themselves can potentially be uploaded by the manager. Again, these probably won't be areas that the employee needs to deal with too much, but just to be aware that any documents relating to yourself will be stored here on your profile, and you can download them and access them. Equally, we have an onboarding section and a right to work section. Both are, again, document storage areas, but they're sort of labeled. So if I jump into onboarding, for example, you can upload, the manager, I should say, will be able to upload these documents relating to yourself. Obviously, and you'll be able to find them quite easily as they're all labeled. So you can view your signed contract here, P45, things like that. Now, as I mentioned before, when a document is uploaded, the manager can ask for a signature. Quite a lot of the time, some of these documents, a manager will request a signature from you. So your signed contract, for example, or your proof of address, things like that. They'll upload it, ask for your signature. You will receive a email from the system prompting you to log in and complete the task, which is to sign that particular document. And as I mentioned before, you can do that on the home screen, as I showed you. If a document is uploaded here, there'll also be an option to sign it straight from this particular area. Amazing. So on oneHR, some of the companies who use oneHR may have additional features on an employee profile. So we do have the ability to add different custom sections, which may have been added by the manager during the setup of oneHR. So if you do see any additional features on your profile with the emblem that looks like this, it's like the four small squares. They are custom sections that have been set up. And again, these could vary and tend to be quite company specific. So yeah, in this case, it's a copy of your driving license. Um, there is an area here called training matrix, so that tends to be an area where you can keep track of all of your HR and health and safety training certifications. Um, so be able to view all of this information here within your profile. Amazing. I'll jump into the leave calendar next, as this is probably the most important thing for employees who use the system, as it is obviously primarily designed for them to book and request holidays and different types of leave. So depending on how your company has the system set up, your visibility of this calendar may be slightly different. So in this case, me as an employee, I can just see myself on the calendar. Now, some companies like to filter this on a department basis, so you'll be able to see yourself and other employees within your department. Some like to leave it as company wide, so you'll be able to see everyone within your company. And obviously here, if you are in multiple departments, you'll be able to filter as well. So from this calendar, you'll be able to see what leave has already been booked, what leave is been requested, so is booked for the future. And also you'll be able to request your leave and absence, well, leave and holidays and things like that from this area. So I can see here that I have a day off sick a couple of weeks ago, which the manager will have inputted for me. So it is the job and the role of the manager to deal with sort of absences and sicknesses. So it's not expected that the employee would book a sickness, for example. That's the manager's job. But I can see here I was off sick and the manager's inputted it into my calendar for me. I can see here that I requested an appointment between 9 and 10 a.m. If I click on that, that was requested and that was approved. And obviously I went to that appointment on the 5th of September. And then here, last week, I had 2 days booked off holiday, which again were approved. Next week, I've got a whole week of holiday, which I've requested. So when it's slightly shaded out like this, it means that the leave is requested, has not yet been approved. I can click on that. I can see that the status is still pending. So this leave request is with my manager, and when they get around to it, they should approve or decline that leave. Now, one of the things to note on oneHR for employees, especially when you request leave, if the leave request is still pending, as this one on the screen is now, you can cancel that. You can retract the request. So if I press cancel, that request is gone. So the manager now has nothing to do. Yeah, it doesn't need to approve or decline that leave. You've cancelled it. You'll then receive an email, obviously, from the system that you have been that you have cancelled that leave. Now, if the leave has been approved already, you as an employee can't cancel that leave. You'll have to speak to your manager, who can then take it off the system if you no longer require that leave. So that's just something important to note. Only when the request is pending still can you sort of retract that. Now, in terms of booking leave, it's a case of navigate into the relevant day that you want to book off, click on that, and then you can fill in the details from the pop-up box. Now, from this type drop-down selection, there'll be all the different leave types that your company has created on oneHR that are available for you to book. So if I wanted to book annual leave, the start date on the 22nd in the morning, and I wanted to again book that entire day, that entire week off, I'll drag the end date to the 26th. I can input a reason potentially, so the manager will, when they receive the request, will see any reasons that is inputted. So if I were to say, just going on holiday, I can then book that leave. Now that request has been sent to the manager, and as you can see, it's shaded out, so it's still pending. Now this is the same for all types of leave. So obviously, if it's annual leave, it is deductible from your overall leave allowance. But if it was things like paternity leave or maternity leave or whatever leave types are available for you to book, appointments, I'll show you doing an appointment as well. So on Friday, I wanted to book an appointment. This one's slightly different. As I mentioned before, it's a record type, so it can be taken in hours rather than sort of half days and days. So between 9 and let's say 9:15, I've got an appointment on Friday, and let's just say it is the dentist, and then I can book that. Now again, that particular appointment request is still pending, and the manager will receive that request. And then once they have approved it, or if they do decline it, you'll receive an email from the system. So you don't have to keep logging in to check if your leave's been approved. The email will send you, the system will send you an email alongside that. And that is essentially how you book and request your leave on oneHR, all from the calendar. And I say you'll receive emails when the requests have been approved. I'll just jump quickly through the company-wide documents area. So this is, as it sort of says in the title, an area for all documents that are company-wide. Again, as an employee, you may have access to different folders depending on how the company sets you up. So you'll have access to a company-wide folder, the My Documents section, which is the same as in your profile. So any documents in there, you'll be able to see here as well. And then you tend to get access to a department file. So whichever department you're assigned to, you should be able to access that particular folder and any documents within there. Now again, as I mentioned before, when a document is uploaded onto oneHR by a manager, they can request a signature. That signature, if it's you that's been requested, will go straight through to your profile. As you can sign it from the dashboard, as I mentioned. You can also sign it from the specific document wherever it's located. So as you may recall, on the home screen, I've got a signature request for a new starter form. This particular form is located here in the company-wide documents area, and I have the ability to sign it from here. So I will just show you what that looks like. So if I'll just type it in this case. So if I just type in my signature, hit the checkbox that I've read and understood that this document, and I can confirm that this is a legal representation of my signature, and then I can click sign. I've now signed that, so you can see the little sign button is gone. If I quickly jump back to the home screen, you'll see that there are no required signatures left. Oh, outstanding, because I've signed a document. And then this company-wide documents area is where you can also see all the company-wide documents that you have access to. You can download them, access them this way. And as I mentioned before, you may have different, depending on what your role is within the business, you'll have different sort of files and folders you have access to. Great, let's jump into the tasks area now. Again, on the home screen, you may have seen that any outstanding tasks that have been assigned to me as an employee will appear on the dashboard. They'll also appear here in the tasks area. I just jump back to the home screen. You can see that one here, the submit expenses form task with a deadline of 19th of September. If I just click on this view tasks, it will take me straight through to the tasks area. You can then view this particular task. If there's been a description left by the manager, what the deadline for this task is, you'll also have received an email from the system telling you that a task has been assigned to you. Once you've then done the task, so I will go externally submit my expenses form to the finance officer or the finance manager, come back onto oneHR, and I'll mark that as complete, and that task is now done. And you'll be able to see in the completed section that the task has been completed. And now on the home screen, you'll be able to see that there is no more outstanding tasks for me to do. If the task reaches the deadline and it is not marked as complete, you'll receive another email from the system reminding you that this is now the deadline. Your manager will also receive, or whoever assigned that task to you will also receive that email. So please remember that once you've completed the task, mark it as complete before the deadline on oneHR. If you haven't, and if you have forgotten about it, the system will remind you. And then just finally, this particular area that I'm going to show you next is to do with oneSafe, the health and safety software. I will show you just as you can see it on the screen here. However, this may not be applicable to a large number of you who only have the access to the oneHR rather than the oneSafe softwares. So this is the instant log, which I mentioned before is the health and safety software oneSafe. So you have the ability as an employee to basically log any accidents or near misses within the business. So that's a simple case of clicking the add new. Let's say it was a near miss. And from here, you can fill in the form with all the required information. Obviously, put your details in if you are reporting it. Description, and any actions that need to be taken. And then you can also add additional actions on the bottom of that to assign to different people. So if you are the employee, you've logged the near miss, and one of the actions could be for the health and safety manager to review this log. You can then hit save, and then that incident will be here logged in the instant log. So we basically have this to replace the sort of the manual physical instant logs that you may have in your business. But yeah, like I said, this is only for those with the health and safety software, oneSafe. And then just finally, when you are finished completing tasks or booking holidays on oneHR, it is a case of clicking on the little profile on top, little profile icon on the top right hand corner, and from there you can log out of the system. And then it'll take you back to the login page. So as I mentioned before, this is where you can input your username and password, log into the system. To get direct access to your company's login page, go through the easiest ways to go through the onehrsoftware.com website and then the blue login button at the top of the screen. So I'll just stop sharing now. If there are no questions, which I just check in the chat, doesn't look like there is. Amazing. Like I said, if you do have any questions on oneHR, please use the support network, whether that's sending us a direct message or whether that is using the support guides that are available to you. And yeah, brilliant. Thanks very much for joining me on this latest BYTE session webinar. We'll have another one next month. The topic will be determined later, sort of closer to the time. But on LinkedIn and on our website, you'll be able to see any details around that next BYTE session. So thanks very much for your time. And yeah, hopefully the whole process of using oneHR as an employee is a bit clearer for you all now. Thanks very much. Bye now.